So welcome everybody to week 1, day 3. This is your first real day of programming on the server. So we're going to cover a lot of ground today. Class is 12 to 2 today. That is correct. Is it normal you keep getting logged out? You should not be getting logged out. Your password has expired. So this is the password reset process. So when you log in for the first time, you need to type in your current password, which is the same as your username. And then you need to type in a new password and the new password again. Then it logs you off. Now when you log back in, it'll be use your new password. So yes, it does disconnect you the first time you change your password. Okay. It should only happen once though. Okay. I was trying to edit my hello world message and wouldn't show my changes after Shift ZZ when I executed. All right, let's take a look at that. Holland. Interesting. We're using Pico. Vim. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So here's Hello World, and if you want to change it to be like, I don't know, Goodbye World, then Shift CC saves and quits. File has been changed, and then you need to recompile it in .cc and run it. So remember the command to compile your code is compile main.cc. Yeah, very good, Mr. Bell. Yeah, why is it not changing? Remember the 3 steps. You edit the file, you compile the file, you run the file. We're gonna do that in a loop over and over again. Okay. So we're gonna learn some stuff today. We're gonna learn us some computer science. Okay. So go ahead and create a, what is this? For me. So go ahead and make a new file, call it day 1, I don't know, week 1.cc. It doesn't really matter. This isn't going to be graded. This is a chance for you to learn and to practice C++. Okay. So just type vim week1.cc, hit return, and we are going to take it from the top. This is actually the first test. Yeah. So, in order to write a C++ program, there's a certain amount of boilerplate that you need. Boilerplate means stuff you need in order to have it compile at all. So, the smallest C++ program you can write is this. It's not a very interesting program, it doesn't do anything, but it's a valid C++ program. If I were to compile this, compiles is fine. If I run it, absolutely nothing happens. Okay. So the absolute minimum you need for a C++ program is this. However, it doesn't do anything, and so there's usually a little bit more we put into a program. We typically write something like this, right? So, if you all could type this from scratch, it will help you engrave it into your memory. So, I'll explain while you guys are typing this, copy this. It's just hello world again. But I want you to type it into a blank file from scratch, just as a way of repeating it and rehearsing it and engraving it into your memory. Do you have Scratch installed? Scratch? No, just doing it from scratch. We do not have Scratch installed on here. We will not be using Scratch. My daughter actually took a course in Scratch a couple weeks ago and hates it. She actually prefers the harder stuff. How do you open a new file? You type vim and you just type in the name of a file. If the file doesn't exist, it will be created. So I just created a file called week1.cc. So from the server, I just type vim week1.cc. That'll give you a blank document. And then I want you all to type this all in from scratch. I don't want you copying and pasting it. I actually want you typing it again to engrave these words and burn them into your subconscious. Is it possible to rename a file? Sure. There is the move command. So move week1.cc to be called C++ is awesome.cc. And then hash brown's covered in smother. And then we can see here we've got C++ is awesome.cc. I can move it back, move C++ is awesome.cc to week1.cc, and that's how you rename a file. Okay. So vim extra large main, yeah, super gulp size main. So I want you all to type in hello world. We're gonna. Is it not style to end on a blank end line in C++? So style is kind of one of those things. Every company, every person you talk to has their own sense of style when it comes to programming. If you want, you can put a blank line there. No one's going to hurt you. You put a blank line there. You know, whatever. Personally, I am fairly protective of my vertical spacing. I try not to space things out too vertically too much. You'll see me occasionally put a blank space in between, you know, logical sections or something. In C++, blank spaces don't matter. So C++ only looks at non-white space. White space is used to break up individual words and things like that. But like if I were to change this so it has like 500 spaces here, like this would actually compile the same way. It'd still print out hello world. White spaces really don't matter outside of like words or something like that. Okay. Yeah, it's not Python. For sure. In Python, you have to indent very precisely or it gets mad at you. How do you add a blank space? You can go into like insert mode and then hit return if you want. If you want to know the professional C++, well, not C++, Vim way of doing it. Like if you're on a line, you can press O to open a line below the current line. That's kind of cool. So what I hit there was in Vim, hit O to open a line below the current one. Or Shift O does the line above. I use those all the time. So you're somewhere in the middle of the line. You don't want to like have to do this. That's super annoying. So O opens line below, Shift O opens line above. You use O more than I to get an insert mode. Yeah, me too, probably. So yeah, if you ever have questions about how you do something, just ask. I also will give you tips and tricks throughout this semester. When you press O, it puts you back into input mode. Yeah, it opens the line and puts you into insert mode. But it opens a blank line below the current line. Am I in command mode? Yeah. If you're in insert mode, it just types. You're just a normal word processor at that point. So all these commands are from command mode. Okay. So first thing I'd like for you guys to do is I'd like for you to change hello world to be something else. Keeps creating a new file with the same name instead of letting me open the original week1.cc. Where are you on the server? Oh, there's week1.cc. Creeps food and file. If you're, did you like leave the directory? Then week1.cc. Okay. You need to, yeah, the curly braces have to be surrounding the cout statement. So and this is IOStream has one S instead of two S's, and the closed curly brace here needs to be on the backside of it. And then it'll work. Okay. Right. So the backslash n means hit enter. You can either do it that way, or you can do it with the end line thing like that. Either way is just fine. You'll see me use either of them, depending on how the mood suits me. There is a technical difference between the two, but it doesn't matter right now. Couldn't get back into the file. Yeah, just Vim week 1. If you're in the wrong directory, like if you you see how it was in the you made it in the hello world directory, not in your home directory. So make sure that you're in the hello world directory to open it up, because your file's inside of there. How do you get out of insert mode? Hit escape. Escape will put you back into command mode. A lot of programmers, the escape key, the lettering has been rubbed off because we whack the escape key so often. Sometimes we'll even hit it 2 or 3 times just to be extra sure that we're out of insert mode. And Vim by default will beep at you if you do that, and I hate that because I'm like, I'll just whack it a couple times just in case. How do you delete a file? If you want to delete a file, you can use rm. Rm removes a file, and you can delete a file that way. Is that file there? Yeah. Interesting. It's a shell script that sees if your style is correct. It's interesting. Where does it go when you cd into a cc file? You cannot cd into a cc file. You can only cd into a folder. If you vim a folder, then vim goes into a special mode where it actually is like a directory listing, and then you can like open up a directory and open up a directory and open up a file, that kind of stuff. But yeah, you cannot cd into a non-directory. Okay. Now, there are quite a few people that have rebound caps lock to be the escape key. Yeah, a lot of people don't like the caps lock key. I had a friend that did that rebound the caps lock key. I think to be the meta key. The meta key is meta. He was an Emacs guy, so whack away, professor. So, do we create a document within the new world folder? You can make this document wherever you want. I was just planning on you guys doing it in your home directory, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to be graded. So, okay. So I'd like for you all to change Hello World to be something different. One that April with the shores. I literally can't spell Middle English. I'm sorry. One that April with his shoulders suta. Sorry. His. There. Prologue to the Canterbury Tales. How do you make your letter bigger? You mean the font size? You go up here. You go to change settings, and you'll get the settings window here. And under appearance, there is the option to change the font size. I have mine gargantuan so that students can see it, even when the streaming quality goes down. You know, I want you guys to be able to read it, so I use gargantuan fonts and bold it usually. And you can save that. No, I did not delete any of your files. So when you connect to the server, csci4x.com, you can actually set the appearance here. defaults to 10-point font, so you can change that to like 16 or something, and then you can actually save this. You can actually save this session like that. Then you can just, if you do that, then when it connects to the server, it's on 16-point font every time. So you can save your preferences. You can save your username, things like that. So let me delete that. Okay. Okay. You can't find your old files from yesterday. Did they get deleted? Barbara. What's okay? So everybody, please make sure your Discord username has your last name in it. So Sally, that's right. Please change your usernames. Okay. So cd hello world, then main.cc. I don't know. Looks like your stuff's still in there. You just need to use the cd command. Sally, make sure you go through the tutorial that I've posted in the announcement and on Canvas. Learn the Unix way. Hello, Ilya, I love you. All right, cool. All right, then week1.cc. Okay, so make it say something different. Just practice. The Unix way is the way. Yeah, maybe that's a good one. So compile week1.cc, and then to run it, you type a.out, or just a for short. Han that appeal with a shorter suta, the drut of March has pierced it to the ruta, and bad the divine and sweet liqueur, of which Vertu engendered is a flower. When Zephyrus ec with a sweat of breath, inspired hath in every holten hath, the tender crops in the young and sonna, which in the rams have cores urona, and small fowls making melody, sleeping all the night with open ear, so pricking his nature and hear courages, the folks longing to go on pilgrimages, and Palmer's for to second strangest strandas, to foreign hallways, couth and sundry landas, and specially from every shires enda, of England to Canterbury they wenda, the holy bliss from art to port seca, him of them holpen, one of ever seca. I had to memorize the prologue to Canterbury Tales in 12th grade, and it's still stuck in my brain for some reason. That's what English sounds like to non-English speakers. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, you just cast a spell. Yeah, it's that paragraph there. I don't know if that helps. Different always couth and sundry landas. So if I want to delete 7 words, Juan that April with his short sutta, 7 words, I can say D7W, and it deletes 7 words. If I want to paste something in PuTTY, I go into insert mode, and I can right-click. Right-click is paste. Or I can, from insert mode, hit Shift Insert. Shift Insert is also paste. So, I don't know if any of you guys know what Fern Hallway's couth and sundry landas means. I sure as hell do not. Okay. You thought you were in the wrong class for a second? Yeah. Like I said, I've messed with students before. Like, first day of school, everyone's like all nervous. I'm like, all right, welcome to 3rd semester French literature, you know? How do you go into insert mode? Type I. Type I to go into insert mode. Your week1.cc is broken. All right, let's take a look. Prac, we need... Oh, maybe not. Maybe that wasn't your fault. That was my fault. Okay. So then week1.cc, open read only. Yeah, you need to type in that. What's the undo command U? Yeah, lowercase u. Lowercase u. I compiled and got the hello world from class on Wednesday. What did I do wrong? All right, let's take a look. Hello world, then week 1. G plus week1.cc. This is no file or what the hell? Did you name the file differently? Weird. I suck at playing chess. I do enjoy playing chess, however. Okay. Okay. Is my week1.cc right, or did I do something wrong? All right, let's take a look. Become Ving. My Baron is constantly expanding. Yeah, you did something wrong. You've got 2 sets of curly braces. So delete those. Let's make it like that. So in C++, and let's, I guess, go over, can I check your execution? And then I'll explain what everything means once I take a look at all of these here. IO Steam, yeah. So, are you a PC gamer, Niles? It's IO Stream. You want IO Stream, not IO Steam. You're missing an R there. What does \n mean? \n is the same thing as new line. It's like you hit the enter key. So if you were try compiling it without the \n, you'll see the difference. All right. All right. So let's go through what the hell all this stuff means. Okay. So this line here, I think a lot of you have figured out. It means print to the screen, Taferna hallways, Kuth and sundry landas. Okay, whatever is within the double quotes there will appear on the screen. And if you change what's in the double quotes, it'll change what appears on the screen. Okay. So thank you, Sally. So who is Ren, by the way? Is that an anime waifu or something like that? Anime? Yeah, which anime is it from? Not quite? No? Never thought I'd hear anime waifu from a professor. Well, I've got news for you. Yeah. So, a lot of the stuff, this is how my professor explained it to me. All this stuff with the include IO stream and the using namespace standard and the int main and all that, my professor just described it as the magic. So what you need to do in order to get a program to write is you need to type in the magic, and then this line right here is your actual program. So in C++, whatever is between the curly boys on main, that's your program. Okay? All this other stuff is boilerplate. It's the magic, as my professor, who actually wrote a textbook, you know, he was just like, it's magic, don't worry about it for now. That said, I can explain it to you guys if you're curious about it. Yeah, so basically when you start writing a C++ program, you're going to write this stuff in red every time. In fact, I have made C++ programs so many times that I can actually type it that fast. See how fast I type that? It's amazingly fast, huh? No, I have a macro set up to type it for me because I've typed it so many times. Okay. Okay, so you guys are funny. All right, so yeah, that's the magic. What this means is that turns on that. So IOStream has IOStream input-output streaming. It allows you to use console out, character out, whatever you want to call it, and console in. So it allows you to write characters to the screen and allows you to read characters from the keyboard. Okay. So if you don't have that, if I were to comment that out, take it out, you will see this line no longer compiles. Never heard of this cout fellow. Who or what are you? You know. So IOStream is there to make cout work, and inline for that matter too. So inline is, I believe, part of IOStream as well. Pretty sure it is. And the using namespace standard thing, you technically don't need that. If you go do like UC Irvine, you will see them ask for you to do this instead, and you'll probably see this online in a lot of examples as well. So there's something in C++ called the standard library. Okay, so it's not technically part of the C++ language, but every time you make a C++ program, you can be guaranteed that the standard library is there. That's why it's called the standard library. And so the standard library includes things like IOStream. And so basically everything that's inside of the standard library is prefixed with a std : like that. And so some people love stds, and they will just put stds everywhere in their code. I personally am not a fan of stds, and so I will not type them. Which, again, saves screen real estate. And I do this instead using namespace std. So if you do this line there, then everything gets a free std : with it. I don't think anyone's a fan of stds. No. There's a professor at UC Irvine. My students went there, and they're like, "Why don't you use using namespace std?" My previous professor did, and he went on like this long rant, and he posted like this 5-page essay on like why stds are good and why he loves stds, and he puts stds everywhere and all this kind of stuff. And you know, like I said, when it comes to matters of style and things like that, like what's the best way of making good-looking code? Everyone's got an opinion, right? And people get real mad about it if you write your code not the way they like it. So basically, my advice to you is whenever you have a new professor, just be like, all right, this is how he likes his code. Okay, I'll just follow it. Personally, I don't care. If you want to spread stds all throughout your code, go for it. You're not going to bother me. It's fine. Okay. I feel like only madmen would write std : over and over and over again. Yeah. Like if you wanted to output this would be jumping ahead a little bit, but there's the ability to trig, right? And so if you wanted to do like the absolute value of something, like the absolute value of -5, it would look like that, and that would print 5 to the screen. But let's say that we wanted to do the sine of that, and the cosine of the sine of that. Again, we're jumping ahead a little bit. Don't worry too much about this. I just want to show you what happens if you turn off using namespace std. Just comment it out. It's going to come back. It becomes... Look at how big it is right now. Okay, now watch what happens. std : and then dot. So that's what it turns into if you love your stds, like the Irvine professor does, apparently. So it goes from being readable, cosine, sine, absolute value, -5, to like that. So I personally am rather biased, but 90% of professors disagree with me. So just be aware of that. That said, the C++ committee agrees with me. So, you know, take that. STD lover. Okay, so, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so, you know, and you can put them in there if, you know, even if you have using namespace std, if you just love the stds so much, you can just put them in there if you want. But it's 5 extra characters for every single name you use. So rather than cosine, which is 3 letters, turns into 8 letters. So it almost triples the length. Yeah. We'll print that graph. I think your health teacher told me to avoid STDs. Well, clearly he or she was a wise individual. Okay, so this is the cosine of the sine of the absolute value of -5. Like I said, you don't need to worry about that right now. We're not there yet. Okay. So what we're going to do first is we are going to the includes or imports from the standard library. Yes, it sounds like you're either a Java or a Python programmer. Yes, in C++, a include statement is like an import in Java or Python or something like that. Yeah. Average STD enjoyer. No, average STD user. Average clean code enjoyer. Okay. Okay. So, what about the int main? Okay, sure. So, main is the entry point of your program. So every C++ program has to have one and only one main in it. That is where it knows where to start running your program. So main is the entry point into your program. Okay, and if you mistype it, if you spell it as man or something like that instead, then what happens when you try compiling your code? You're gonna get a weird error. Undefined reference to main. Okay. You get this strange looking thing. Collect to text LD return 1 exit status. But what it's trying to say, it's like, I tried to find main, dude. I couldn't. Gotta have main in there somewhere. Okay. Int. Main is technically a function, so you can actually return 420 from main if you want. If that's your cup of joy, you can return 420 from main. Or if I'm going to make it 42, which is the answer to the question of life, the universe, and everything. If you run that, 42 doesn't appear anywhere. Shoot. It's like the error code. So this int here is an error code that is returned from your function. So normally we return an error code of 0, which means no error occurred. But if you want, like if let's say your program crashed or something and you wanted to return error code 30 or something like that, then whoever ran your program would be able to get the error code out of it and then, do something different. For example, when I try compiling your code with the compile shell script, it checks to see if each step was successful. And if there's an error code thrown, then it stops. It doesn't keep going. Can an error code be a string? Nope. It is a number from 0 to 255. So technically 420 is not allowed. You can return 420, but if you actually echo the error code, you get not 420. It's actually a number from 0 to 255. Okay, so that's the magic. Okay, so the curly braces here are the buns of the sandwich. Okay, so you will see these curly braces appear kind of all over the place in C++, and it means the body of main, the program is held between these two markers. So the open curly boy is the beginning of main, and the closed curly brace is the end of main. Does that make sense? So all my font is light blue. Is that fine? It sounds like it's a comment. I don't see where your code is, Montoya. Looks fine to me. I don't see a weak 1 in there anywhere. Okay. But yeah, if you were to like somehow like comment out your code or something like that, again, a comment means the compiler just deletes the line. It doesn't do anything with it. So let's learn some new stuff. First thing we're going to learn is algebra. Technically arithmetic. So you have the ability not just to see out words like this, but you can see out variables as well. So in C++, variables are made by giving it three things. There's three things that go into making a variable. The first thing is the name, and that's the hardest part. Trust me. The hardest part of coming up with a variable is the name of the variable. It's hard. So most people just go with like X because they're used to algebra or something. So the first thing you need is the name. It could be whatever you want, kind of. Can't start with a number. It can have numbers in it, just can't start with a number. There's some other weird rules, but if you just stick to like letters, you'll be fine. Underscores are okay. So the first thing is the name. Second thing is the type of the variable. And so the type of the variable means what kinds of things does that variable hold? Does it hold whole numbers? Do you guys know what integers are? Are you guys familiar with integers? Like the concept of what an integer is? Like 5 is an integer, 7 is an integer, -2 is an integer. But like 3.5 is not. You guys learn that in like algebra and stuff? Not floating point numbers. Integers are whole numbers. Either positive or negative or 0. Okay. So if you wanted to make an integer named x, we could say integer x. Like that. And then the third thing that we need is to give it a value. So integer x is equal to 420. Okay. And then we can print the value of x to the screen. Just like that. And that's going to print 420 to the screen. All right. So, three things, right? The name, the type, and the value that it has. The value that it has can not be given, but I don't recommend it. So do you know what this is going to print to the screen? I didn't give it a value. Anyone want to guess what it prints to the screen? I don't know either. Let's find out. Zero. Okay. Doesn't have to be 0 though. If you don't give it a value, it will be whatever is randomly in memory there. And so I guess in this case it's 0. Doesn't have to be. A lot of people think that it gets initialized to 0. If you want to initialize it to 0, you do this. Okay. Now it's guaranteed to print out 0. If you don't give it a value, it'll have, I don't want to say a random value, because you can see it wasn't random, but yeah, it's like it'll have a random value, if you want to think of it that way. Very, very dangerous. You should always initialize your variables. So that's why I teach these three things: name of the variable, type of the variable, and value of the variable. And then you put a semicolon. Put a semicolon at the end. That makes a variable. Okay. Always initialize your variable, and you have to make a variable before you can use it. Like I could not do this. Like I could not print the value of x before I made it. This isn't JavaScript, right? Bell, that's how JavaScript works, right? Like it would just, would that work, Mr. Bell? No, it wouldn't work. Okay, never mind. Well, depends. So var x, or whatever it is in JavaScript. Use var, it works, yeah. If you use const roulette like you're supposed to, win. Yeah. JavaScript's a weird ass language. Okay, so if we run this, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. If we run this, you'll see it is printing out the value of x. So, anyone want to take a guess on what the difference is between these two lines? How many digits can ints hold? It's a good question. Okay. First is an integer, the second's a string. Yeah, anything between double quotes is just letters. Yeah, very good. So the first one's going to print 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. The second one is just going to print the letter X to the screen. Good. So if we compile it and run it, you can see it prints that. So this is a mistake that some people make. They think this is going to print the value of the variable. Nah, that's how you do it. Okay. We can make another variable. Integer y is equal to 1. And then we can print the value of x minus y. So we can, yeah, single quotes are used for single letters. Double quotes are used for 0 or more letters. So you can do algebra. Okay, so you can have x minus y, you can have x plus y, you can have x times y, which would be kind of boring because y is 1. X divided by y, which would also be pretty boring. Okay, so if we were to run this, we get 5, 4, 3, 2, 0, 9, right? Because we subtracted 1. Here. When is lab today? This is lab time. Let's lecture and lab together. So, why don't you try all of the different algebraic operations? Okay, so you do plus, you do minus, you do division, which is a front slash, multiply. Multiply, by the way, is not x. This one not. You can't do this. You can't do that. Multiply in C++ is star. Okay. All right, so try it. Try it on your own. Try adding 2 variables. Try subtracting 2 variables. Try dividing 2 variables. Multiplying 2 variables. Don't worry about the square root for now. Don't worry about that trig stuff that I was showing you earlier. That's a couple weeks down the line. Let's do the basic algebra stuff. And if you wanted, you can see x times quantity, x divided by y, parentheses work. You can do that too. Try it. And if you have problems, screenshot it. And then square root does not exist yet, yeah. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to do this. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to pause the stream and just try adding, subtracting. You can make 3 variables, 4 variables, 5 variables. Go crazy. It's fine. Add, subtract, multiply, parentheses. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Yeah, it's all good. 2 things I should mention. What do you guys think this does? What do you think the caret does? Yeah, it looks like exponent, right? Not exponent. And in fact, if you try compiling it, it will the tool that I wrote with, well, my students did probably most of the hard work on it. We wrote a tool called Easy Peasy, and it looks for mistakes that new programmers make. And so it'll tell you, yeah, by the way, this is not used for exponents. Okay. So if you see that, hit Q to quit, and then come back in and fix it or whatever. So the caret operator is not exponentiation. Don't try that. You can, however, try percentage, which is modulus. Okay. So if you do modulus, that is the remainder operator. So if you take x and you modulus it by 2, you get 1. Because 2 divides into 5 2 times, the remainder of 1. It's the remainder operator. Okay. So for every odd number, you'll get 1. And for every even number, you'll get 0, right? Do you have campus lab time? No, this is it. This is our lab time. So lab time is, well, every day, really. It's a integrated lecture and lab, really. What's the G++? It's the same thing as compile. It's just less typing for me. It doesn't run easy peasy, though, so you guys should run compile. Okay. What is modulo? It is the remainder command. Yeah, / is not module in C++. How do you save? Shift-CZ. Yeah, very good, Corrente. I got the user to add numbers. Can I create the next Discord? It's funny. So float like 0.25 will round down to 0 in the output. Yes. Technically, if you do division, like if you divide 51 by 2, this is actually what's called integer division, right? Because you've got the remainder, right? So whenever you did the long division in like 3rd or 4th grade, right, you'd say 2 divides into 51 25 times with a remainder of 1. So the front slash, when you have 2 integers, is doing integer division. So it'll just be 25, not 25 and a half, 25. If you want to get the fraction part, that's what the modulus is for. So you can get the whole part 25, you can get the remainder part with modulus 1. So you can say, for example, 51 divided by 2 is 51 divided by 2 with a remainder of 51 modulus. Like that. And yes, you can do that. You can actually chain together multiple output statements that way. Yeah, if you backgrounded your code, type FG to foreground it. 51 divided by 2 is 25 with a remainder of 1. Okay, so I'm gonna, like I threatened earlier, I'm gonna pause the stream now. I'm gonna give you guys like 5 or 6 minutes to experiment with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulus, and outputting different in parentheses, and outputting the different values. Okay. Let's continue. Then v1.cc. We're all able to make a couple variables, 2 variables, do some addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, that kind of stuff. Play around with it a little bit. Don't be afraid to experiment. One question came up was, can you do modulus with floating point numbers? And my answer was, just try it. So first of all, we have to know how to make a floating point number, and we can make a floating point number by typing float instead of int, like that. And so these numbers can, they can end in a 0 or not, or have a decimal of something. Okay, if we try doing that, then Try this with actually x and y rather than the values hard-coded in. Like that. Then you will see you cannot pass floats to...
Already share your screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing the screen. No. Thank you. There we go. Okay, so if you try... here, let me pull up the source code again for you guys. So if you change these values to be floats instead of ints, then they will be able to hold decimals, not whole numbers anymore. They're floating point numbers. However, you cannot do modulus. You cannot do modulus with floating point numbers. It's not allowed. The reason for that is because you can't ever have a remainder, right? 3.3 divides into 10 3 times the remainder of... Wait, no, there's no remainder. It'll whatever you have, it divides in evenly because they're floating points. So, sharing the internet browser, yeah, okay. So, how do you do exponent? We'll learn that in a couple weeks when we go over the math library. There's a function called pow. So pow does exponent, square root does square root, hypot does Pythagorean theorem. There's functions for a lot of stuff in there. We're just doing the basics right now. So yeah, and so my advice to you all is simply to try it. So if you wanted to see if you can do modulus with floats, just make them a float and see what happens. You're not going to explode the server. It's just not going to compile. Okay. Next big thing we need to learn is... by the way, if you try sticking a floating point number into an int, then what happens is it just drops everything after the decimal. So it doesn't round. So for example, if we had 51.1, this is going to put 51 into x. Okay? It is not going to put... It just drops everything after the decimal. And for y is 2.9. It does not become 3. It becomes 2. So if you ever try shoving a float into an int, it drops everything after the decimal. Okay. What was that command you used? VV. That is an alias I have set up because I have aliases for like everything. So it's an alias I have set up to run the last vim command. So, yeah, I have a lot of aliases, so you can use it yourself. My aliases are your aliases. It's like Mikase, Sukase, except with aliases. So I push out all my aliases to you guys, so you can experience life as a Unix wizard as well. Okay, so there's one more big thing that we need to learn today, and that is input. Okay, so let's just go ahead and make these guys 0 by default. You can also put them together onto one line, like that. That is probably a little bit more common. This makes a variable named x of type integer, whose initialized to 0. It makes a variable named y, type integer. It's initialized to 0. Okay. Let's give them better names. Like I said, coming up with good names for variables is hard. Call this apples, and we'll call this price per apple. Okay. So let's say we want to make a calculator that'll compute how much it's going to cost to buy some apples. Okay. Welcome to Apple Calculator 2000 registered trademark. Please enter how many apples you want to buy. And now, here is the learning point. cin reads from the keyboard and puts the value into apples. Okay. So that is the second big thing for today. First big thing for today is, making variables and doing algebra with them. Maybe those are two things. The third big thing for today is this. Okay. And so this is how you read from the keyboard and you get them into your variables. It's the glue that connects the user here in real life, and the user can type in, I want to buy 900 apples, and they hit 900 and hit return. After they hit return, apples will have the value of 900. Okay? So if the user types in something that's not an integer, bad things happen, and we're not going to worry about it today. It's a topic for another time. So just assume the user is going to type in some valid number. Could be a negative number. That seems problematic, right? I want to buy negative 500 apples at $1,000 each. Okay, well, we're going to charge you a negative $500,000. Okay, well, if you insist, I'll take your $500,000. It's fine. I thought you were transferring the second variable and typed pp apple. I'm not sure I want to have a pp apple, Jensen, but I appreciate the thought. So, so we say, please enter how many apples you want to buy, and then it'll sit there and wait. So the way that this works, when you do cin into apples, what happens is that when it gets to this line, it pauses the program, and it waits for the user to type in a number, and not just one number, but like however many numbers you want to type on the keyboard, and then when they hit enter, then it continues onwards. So it pauses until the user types in enter, and then whatever number was typed in there is now inside of apples. So we can do the same for price per apple. Please enter the price per apple. And maybe we should even make that a float. What do you think? That should probably be a float. Float price per apple. So now we can have like $1.50 per apple instead of just even amounts. Please enter the price per apple. Okay, and then we can cin into price per apple. Just like that. That's all it takes. The cin double right arrow, variable name, and it will read from the keyboard and stick the result into the variable. The problem with our generation is they might try to pay negative 5,000. Yeah. It's something that I do all the time. Anytime I see like a web form that takes numbers, I try punching in a negative number and see if they handle it properly. And you'd be surprised. Like Wikipedia once tried giving me $1 million. It was great. The credit card transaction didn't go through, but they're like, all right, you're going to donate a negative $1 million to Wikipedia. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so so when we run this program, it's going to print to the screen, welcome to Apple Calculator 2000. Please enter how many apples you want to buy. We read in the apples, number of apples to buy. We then print to the screen, please enter the price per apple. We read that from the keyboard as well. And then we will need to give them their bill. Cout the total cost of your Apple bill at the Apple store. Please don't sue me, Ghost of Steve Jobs. Is apples times price per apple. And that is our program. Okay. So when you learn a program, you start by learning the very simplest, most basic tools. How do I, do algebra? How do I make a variable? And you will slowly, over the span of the next year, build up your competency and start building ever bigger and greater things. So if we were to compile this and run it, how many apples do you want to buy? I want to buy 10 apples at $2.20 an apple. So total cost of my Apple bill at the Apple store is $22. You guys see that? So 10 apples at $2.20 each. It's $22. Okay. Any questions about this? Okay, I am going to just give you guys lab time. These are the three main learning points for today. I'm just going to leave this up on the screen so you can look at it. Learning points for today. How to make a variable. So like this, and x equals 0. Remember the semicolon. Learning point number 2, algebra. X plus y, x minus y, x times y, x divided by y, x mod y. And learning point 3, cn into x will read from the keyboard and put the result to x. So I'd like for you to spend the next 40 minutes making, something like this. Like a calculator or like a retirement calculator. I don't know. Do you have to type the blue, the bruh? Doesn't it, how you end up outputting it every time it drops the cents? Yeah, if you get a whole number as a result, Mueller, it will not draw the decimal place. Okay. Do you have to import exponent? Yeah, if you... Okay, fine. Include CMath. Makes POW, square root, sine, cosine, abs available. So if you want to do a real retirement calculator with like compound interest and things like that, you're going to need POW. This is actually a topic for like a couple weeks from now, but if you want it, you can do it. So for example, you could see out the POW of 2 to the 10th power. You get 1024, right? So if you want to do exponentiation, you can do it that way. Okay. So I'm going to leave this up on the screen. Just going to play some Deltron. I can't. If I have this up on the screen, I can't play Deltron 3030. I guess I'll just leave it up on the screen. You guys can play Deltron 3030 on your own machines. Okay. So I'm going to pause the recording now, and if there's any other learning points that come up, I'll unpause. Otherwise, that'll do it for today. So I want you guys to spend the remainder of class until 2 o'clock using these tools that we've learned. See in, see out, make a variable, do algebra to do something interesting. And then screenshot it, post the screenshot onto Discord, and once you've posted a screenshot of your thing working, you can peace out. Okay? Otherwise, I expect you to be here till 2, and we will help, because this is the first real day of programming. So myself and Corrente and Bell and anyone else who's here to volunteer will help the people who are having trouble editing a file and stuff like that. So, again, rest of the class period is lab time. Make something like this, maybe a little bit longer, whatever. Do some computations of some sort. And when you're done with it, screenshot it, post it onto Discord, and you can peace out. You can leave early if you want. Okay? So, I'll stop the recording here.